All right, guys, let's get the show on the road. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Zoom meeting for the South Florida area covering 3 chapters, West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. Joe McGee is in charge of West Palm and all the money area in that area, Boca and so on. And I represent the poor neighborhood called Fort Lauderdale. And we got the Miami guy, Javier, hopefully joining us shortly. So as we know, today our guest is Michael Goldberg. I'll do a quick intro. He runs something very snappy called Knockout Network for Financial Advisors. Very catchy name, Michael. Amazing. And he's apparently helped thousands of financial advisors, brokers, and frankly, from New York, what else would you be advising? Who else rather you be advising, right? Brokers, agents, and job seekers generate more and better connections using his network approaches and techniques. His firm, Knockout Networking, has been speaking and training resources in the financial service industry for over 20 years. Good on you, Michael. And he's been on TEDx, and his clients include Morgan Stanley, Northern Trust, American Century, and so on, and so on, and so on. So over to you, Michael. Thank you. Thank you for giving us your time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So it's kind of a small group. I'm used to, I've done FANG meetings in the past. So I have volunteered over the years for FANG all over New York and New Jersey and even Connecticut, kind of a small group. So we'll do not so much a fireside chat, but I'll do this in a much more intimate way. So Tariq, thank you. So as he had mentioned, so professionally, I'm a speaker, trainer, coach, and I'm a boxer. I'm a competitive fighter, which is not bad for a little Jewish guy, although I'm not so little. And my company is Knockout Networking. So for 21 years, like what I'm going to be sharing with you, I do full time and get paid for. So I am a professional speaker, trainer, coach, and I focus on networking skills, and I'm niched in the financial services industry. So my clients bring me in to work with their teams, and I've been doing this for a long time. So that's my day job. I'm an adjunct professor at Rutgers University on Monday nights, but not over the summer. So my semester allegedly begins September 8th again, and it won't be virtual. So it'll be nice to be back in a real classroom where I teach public speaking. And then finally, I founded a networking group called, ironically enough, the Networking Group, or TNG. And it's geared towards business owners to grow their business through networking. We're in 9, soon to be 10 communities around the country. And this is a paid thing. So people, I've got over almost 90 members now, people that are paying fees. And I created this from scratch. So we now have communities in New York City, New Jersey, Long Island. I'll get them all. Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, Atlanta, South Florida, San Francisco. We're launching one in Seattle in October. So the bottom line is I'm real busy. I'm real focused. I'm real organized. And I live and breathe the connection. Boxing, like networking, is about the connection. Every now and then I share my ideas as a volunteer because I have a soft spot for those that are in between careers. So I gather that's kind of the case here, is that you're in a place where you're not working or you're looking to do something else. Is that right?
I think that's about it.
Yeah. Is that for everybody? It's a small group. So I just kind of want to know what's kind of like your deal.
My deal, Joe, my deal is basically I former CFO laid off during COVID, doing my MBA in finance and economics.
Good.
And I'm ready to roll back into the real world sometime next March.
All right. Perfect. Donald, what's your story, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, to be honest with you, Mike, I was going to say pretty much exactly like you. I helped form the Florida CFO group down here. We're a networking group, a couple boards. I'm a fractional CFO. I have 2 separate companies, and I love to network and help people out finding jobs. How about that?
Well, perfect. We should talk about the networking group, or TNG, in Tampa, because we're going to have a live conference down there in November, and we're going to launch another community. So I've got fractional CFOs in some of my other communities. We should talk offline. Look, it works. This whole networking thing works.
I was just going to say, how can you have something in Tampa without talking to me? That's just.
Well, we'll talk. We'll absolutely chat. Yeah, without a doubt. No, so, but this is how this whole thing works. You communicate, you create rapport, and hopefully you collaborate. And that's really what networking's all about. So what I'm going to do is I've got slides. I did prepare for this. We'll kind of take a pointed approach to some of my favorite concepts that I think are most relevant to what you might be looking for, whether it's building a business, Donald, or whether it's, you're looking for like your next path, your next journey, your next hurrah. It's really just a question of how you apply the concepts. So as you agree or disagree, feel free to interrupt me throughout. Like
Michael, can I interrupt just for 1 second?
Except for Tariq, he can't interrupt me.
Yeah, since it's only like 6 people, might as well finish off the other 4 intros. We used to do that, but then we were told by Fang, don't do it. You guys waste half an hour. So we're kind of halfway in there. So,
well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into a format as to how you might deliver an intro.
Fantastic.
Then, right. So I'll just do that, and I'll just work that. I will just intertwine that into my presentation, so everybody gets a chance to do that. How's that?
Fantastic. You got 2 already done, so there's 4 more whenever you're ready.
Have them all do that because and you'll see why. You'll see why. So because it's small, and that's a good idea. So we'll do that. All right. So you want to see some slides? Should we do that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's get a little formal. Here we go. Oh, look, that's me. Look.
Well, now it's you. There you go.
Well, look at that. You see that? All right. So look at this. All right. So this is knockout approaches to the virtual stuff, which also applies to, to real life, to the face-to-face, nose-to-nose, belly-to-belly. So I want to talk about first things first is this concept I love sharing with groups called winning the day, like what an ideal work day is for you. Right. So what does that look like? And by work, it doesn't mean necessarily employment, although it could. But what does a perfect day look like that might take you a footprint or 2 closer to where you want to be? And it's having that ideal work day in mind is often takes us there. Like, what does this look like? Best case scenario. So and again, I'm going to get into all this stuff. But I find that job searchers typically don't know what an ideal work day is for them, and therefore they may not be as productive or feel as good or as positive as they might. What part of the day are you high energy? I'm high energy most times, but certainly very early in the morning is probably I'm the highest energy and the most productive. And that's relevant because the most difficult task that I have to take on in the day, I typically do early in the morning. What time will you block in your calendar, to take on certain tasks, depending on energy level and depending on, winning the day? What is your 30-day goal, and are you on track? I find that job searchers very rarely have goals, and I think it's a powerful concept if you're in between careers to at least have a goal or 2 for 30 days, even if it's I want to get my resume to 5 potential hiring managers in my target market. Like, that's an admirable goal, right? So it's now, where do you need to go? What do you need to say? With whom you need to say it to make that happen? And by the way, that's networking. Networking is having a goal and then having a plan to go to the right places, say the right things, and meet the right people. That's networking. Again, I'll get into all this stuff. What got in your way yesterday? I work with groups all the time. So it's like, this is what my win the day looks like, but I didn't win the day. Well, why? What got in your way? And it's just something that you can overcome so you win tomorrow. Because it's not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about making progress to have that day be as purposeful as it might be. And finally, what musts will be in your daily fight plan? Like, if you're going to, and I'm going to give you a daily fight plan at the end of this whole thing, so you actually have a process to work on and work through. I use it myself. What must get done, and what does all of that look like? And again, to win the day. And if you don't win today, it's about winning tomorrow. So here's how to get the most value of our time together, even though this is a small, intimate group, is have your favorite beverage handy. Mine is often a bourbon, but that's not the case tonight. It's a cup of coffee right now. I'll save the bourbon for later. Minimize or eliminate distractions, which is difficult to do, especially virtually. Try to avoid multitasking much. I'm going to request that because in an hour, baby, I'm gone. So try to minimize the multitasking. Stay present. I was on a webinar this morning. So I led a meeting, and then I was on somebody else's webinar, and I found myself doing what you're probably doing right now, multitasking. I was doing 60 different things. 15 minutes went by, and I realized this speaker sounds really good, but I don't have a clue what she was talking about. And I just thought, I registered for this thing because I thought it would be of value. I shut everything down. I gave it presence for the next 45 minutes, and I took a whole page full of notes of really good ideas, some of which I'm going to implement. If I didn't stop multitasking, that does not happen. Take notes, lots of them. I talk fast. I think fast. I react very, very quickly. I'll get you the slides if you're interested, but I want you to take as many notes as possible. And again, just stay with me. And if you've got questions, ask them. Be open to learning, changing, implementing. Don't say to yourself, I already know that. Say to yourself, how can I apply this to solving a problem? Like that's the kind of the radio going. Ask questions, because if you ask the right question, you get the right answer. Don't ask the question. The answer is always no. If you've got comments, feel free to post them in the chat box. If it's not Tariq, it's Joe that's monitoring that. Then do at least one thing more, better, or different as a result of something that I said or somebody else in the meeting might have said, right? So that's really what it's about. It's one thing is about learning and, oh, good webinar and a good speaker and blah, blah, blah. But what are you going to do with it? It's like, what's the result and what are you going to put into place? So that's me. We were talking about that before, the companies, a couple of books, the whole thing. I've got a lot of logos that represent who I am. Now, this is not about me. This is about you. So hang in there. These are all the logos. You heard about some of this stuff. I'm a bourbon drinker. Buffalo Trace, my favorite. Peloton, I'm a Peloton fanatic. The point of this slide is not to showcase me. The point of this slide is that we all have logos that represent all of us. So these are some of mine that represent me. But you have logos too that represent past companies, that represent professional associations, that represent your alum, that represent, other communities that you might be part of. Each one of these logos are a community for me. And therefore, there are people that I could develop a rapport through those communities. So other authors, other Peloton riders, other professors at Rutgers, and so on. You have that too. If you were going to create a slide right now because you were going to give a presentation, what logos would appear on yours? And are there communities that represent those logos that need to know you or need to be reminded that you are in a career search or that you're a fractional CFO and that you have a certain niche market? Like, I think that's important. Don't we leave opportunity on the table every day? And I mean, every single freaking day? Where these are people that we can be speaking with that are part of our network, and we often forget about it. We just chalk it up to that's a logo, and that's just something that I did. But there's a community behind that. Look at that, tap into that, create rapport with that, because there's a solution to a problem there, I believe. So this is my belief in terms of what networking should look like if you're a job searcher, and even a fractional CFO, Donald. So, and this is kind of in order, right? And this is a big deal. And I'm going to get into detail with all this stuff. So hang in there. I intentionally put lots of stuff on slides. I do this intentionally. So bear with me. I think first and foremost, if you haven't already, you got to focus on a target market. I'll get into detail in terms of my own interpretation of what that means. You got to focus on a target market. And I believe a target market is an industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, company name. If you know with whom your target market is, you'll know networking, where to go, what to say, with whom. So important. Develop a target company list if you haven't already. What are the 10, 12, 15 companies that you realistically want to work for? It's not about reacting to job postings, which is fine. It's about proactively figuring out where you want to work and what you need to do to try to make that happen. I do that with my clients. I want to work with Morgan Stanley. Where do I need to go? What do I need to say? And with whom do I need to say it to make that happen? And you know what? That'll happen. And that's how it has happened. Participate in an association in your target market. Everything that I do right now is as a result of a professional association that I joined and ultimately spoken at a little over 20 years ago. Honestly, I can like track everything I'm doing right now to this one engagement just because it was so targeted. Create a top 50 list of your centers of influence. We'll get into that. Be active on LinkedIn with your target market in mind. It's not an everyone mentality. It's a niche, very focused mentality. Establish a daily routine. Set weekly goals and 30-day goals. You've heard that before. And demonstrate an it's up to me attitude. I never want to hear, oh, you know what? The job market sucks. Nobody's hiring. There's no jobs. It's the summer. It's COVID. It's this. It's that. Right? If have it, it's up to me attitude. No matter what, people are hiring for some jobs. It's a question of going to the right place, say the right thing, and meet the right people. Here's why job seekers struggle. This is not my first rodeo. I've been volunteering to help job seekers for over 20 years. And this is what I have found only every time is that job seekers struggle very often because there's not enough focus on what is wanted, as in what they want. There's just not enough focus there. Openness to direction and feedback, networking in the right places, knowledge about LinkedIn, that's not Long Island, LinkedIn and the usage, emphasis on giving, helping, plan or daily routine, accountability or hard work toward the objective, because there might not be an objective. Bottom line, not enough. I want at the end of this program for you to feel like there's enough, so you have something to focus on. If you're not taking action because of something that we're discussing right here, I feel like I failed. And it's about taking action, whatever that looks like. So let me just share this. This is a convoluted slide. I'm going to move on with some heavy duty content here. This is a breakdown of a real student's grade from a couple of semesters ago that I had in my Rutgers class. And this is real. So you're fang your numbers, people, right? So this will resonate with you. On the left-hand side, this is basically the breakdown of the way my course, my public speaking class is set up. 60% of the class is made up of the grade is made up of presentations. 20% is made up of exams, a midterm and a final. 7% is other written assignments. 3% is a resume. I've got resume expertise, so I teach it in my class. And then 10% is attendance and participation. So I had a student that barely passed. She got a D, a 65. But why? She did really well in her exams. So you notice exams, she got 100 and a 95. Those are her grades. 100 on the midterm, 95 on the final. On her presentations, she got a B, a C, an F, and an F. The two Fs, she just blew it off, didn't show up. So she ended up getting 31 out of 60. Not bad. Her assignments were pretty good. She didn't turn in the resume that was on her. She only had 15 weeks to do that and didn't do it. And her attendance participation was okay. She got a D. Was it because she wasn't smart enough? No, she was smart. Why did this kid she probably should have failed, but why did she not do better in the class? You tell me.
She didn't show up.
She didn't show up. She didn't do the work. That's why most job seekers struggle, because they simply don't do the work, right? And again, I mean this with respect. I mean this with love. I mean this 20 years of just what I've seen. And I don't want that to be you. All right, here we go. Hang on. So here's 3 knockout objectives for you and your job search. I believe in job search, these are the 3 things that are most important, probably in this order, is to have the ability to manage your money. Now, you're like CFOs or CFO types, so this should be as obvious as a ham sandwich, but it may not be, right? So here are 3 things to consider in terms of managing your money. Again, this is with respect. I don't know what anybody's situation is, none of my business. I want you to think about, if you haven't already, what's the worst possible scenario? What's the worst possible financial scenario that you might be in? Like, God forbid. And if that's the case, what's your plan? What's the best thing that can happen? What's the best possible scenario? The job comes in, you got a severance, you were able to, move money out of a 401k into a but whatever, right? So what does that plan look like? And then what is the most likely thing to happen, and what's your plan? The point is to have a plan, right? If by having a plan, it tends to make fear go away. So that's something hopefully you're discussing with people in your family, your wife, your whoever, right? So that managing your money is the first thing. Second thing is managing your connections, which is really where I'm going to, be hyper-focused on in a minute, is social media followers, job search leads, your prospects, centers of influence. It's about making lists and checking them twice. So we're going to talk a lot about that stuff. And then finally, be massively in service to others. So it's really about having a networking mindset and behaving, coming from a place of service, like massively, just being ruthless about helping people. Because if you help the right people, they freaking help you back. That's just the way it is. And that's the essence of networking. It's about the give. So fear's kryptonite is a plan. So hopefully where I'm going is to give you a bit of a plan to be, and that's not me, by the way, but a bit of a plan to be able to work with. All right, here it is. Here's a networking mindset. So in boxing, and I really do box, I do all this crazy stuff. In boxing, and anybody that follows it, everything that, and I have a heavy bag next to me. I really have a heavy bag here. So everything in boxing, that you throw really comes off the jab. So the jab kind of sets everything up. In networking, the mindset is the jab. The mindset sets everything up. Here is what a networking mindset looks like, in my opinion, is it's coming from a place of health and safety. Everybody has been affected by COVID. I won't get on a soapbox. That's just a fact. I lost an aunt of mine on Sunday, was at a funeral on Tuesday. People are in pain. So when I meet with people, and it's mostly virtually, not always, the first thing is out of my mouth is, other than thank you for carving out some time to meet with me, is how are you and your family doing? Is everybody okay? I don't do it because it's manipulative. I do it because that's where my heart is. That's really what I feel, because I know people are in pain and people are coming from for whatever reason, right? So that's where I go. I come from a place of care and concern, because I do. I also come from a place of being very interested in learning about other people and offering help when I can, asking questions, listening, being very interested in what they're saying, providing resources if I can, like connecting people with other people or other websites or resources or FANG or wherever, and then making introductions as appropriate. All these things, not in any particular order. I mean, think about if you meet people and they all come from this, aren't they going to be great connections for you? Probably, right? Again, it's a lot of it's cliche, but in this day and age, maybe not so much. That's a networking mindset. That's what it takes. Everything is off the jab. So give me a thumbs up if you're with me. We good? All right, here we go. All right, there's only 6 reasons. Here we go, content. There's only 6 reasons for networking. There's only 6. They're in no particular order, but I put land a job first. It seemed most relevant. There's only 6 reasons why we network. Land a job is reason number 1. So that, again, seems obvious, but the not so obvious part is, well, what does that mean? Right? So landing a job, what industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic demographic, geography, company names you want to land a job with, and when? Like, what does that look like? So this way you can figure out a plan. We'll get to it in terms of where you might go, what you might say, and with who you might say it. Land a job. 76% of job searchers land interviews through networking, according to Lee Hecht Harrison. 76%. So call it 80%. That's pretty good. If you're really good at networking, I imagine it's much higher, especially if you're coming from a place of that, right? So land a job. That's one reason. Second reason for networking, and again, there's only 6, is to generate business. More prospects, more referrals, more business. So again, it's not just important enough to say, well, I'm looking for more business. What type of business are you looking for? Be specific. There's a social life or social reasons. Make friends, find other people that play golf, other bourbon drinkers, the whole thing. Where to go, what to say, with whom. To learn something. 4th reason, learn about a product, learn about a service, learn about an industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic demographic, geography. You know, with what you need to learn, you'll know where to go, what to say, with whom. So Joe is saying that, he's taking on some learning and courses and new skills, right? So it's, what do I need to learn and what do I need to start a mastery around in order to be bigger, better for my next career opportunity? So learning something, networking can help with that. Paying it forward is the 5th reason to network, is to just, help a brother out, help a sister out. What I'm doing now, I'm doing this without expecting anything in return. I just feel it's fun and it's the right thing to do. So paying it forward is another reason to network, just to help without expecting anything in return. And then the 6th reason why we network is to solve a very specific problem. Solve a very specific problem. So I'll just share this very quickly. My dad is now in an assisted living community, like 5 minutes from my house. He's 83 years old. His whole body is just breaking down. He took care of my mom, who passed for a long time. She passed 5 years ago, and he hasn't been the same. So I'm new to this whole assisted living, senior living scene. So my solve a very specific problem is to get information and resources to help me get through this and to help him get through this. Where to go, what to say, with whom. The point, my belief, I really believe this, is that networking can solve almost all of life's problems. I really believe that, provided you're focused on the right problem and you know where to go, what to say, and with whom. That's point number 1. Point number 2, if we are in the business of helping the people that we meet accomplish one of these 6 things, or a combination of these 6 things, because everybody that we meet is after one of or a combination of these. Think about that. If we can help them plug into a solution aligned with this, they'll tend to help us right back. Right. So it's about the other parts. That's takeaway number 2. Takeaway number 3 is I live and breathe this stuff, baby. Like, can you tell? Like, this is not just stuff I present on. Like, I really live this. This is just the way I operate. If you're in job search and you want to be successful at getting out of job search, I believe you have to live and breathe this way. It's just going to shorten the curve, pardon the pun. So are you with me? Give me a thumbs up. Do I have you? Did I have you at hello?
You do.
All right, good. All right, here it is. Let's get into the sweet science of networking now. That was the art. Now, you see what I did? Art and science. So here we go. Networking, here it is. My belief, it's a proactive approach to meeting quality people with the hopes of learning from and helping them. That's it. That's it. It's learning, helping. I'd like a second helping, learning, helping. Now, you might be thinking that, well, can it be reactive too? Yes, it can be. Like, you can just bump into somebody and say, hey, and just connect with them, and that happens. So it can be both. I intentionally didn't add it here because now that most of our interactions are online, they tend to be more proactive than ever. Would you agree? Like, we have to make Zoom meetings happen. We have to make connections on LinkedIn happen. And by the way, there's way more people on Zoom and LinkedIn now than ever. It's because we have to be much more intentional and much more proactive. And especially in job search, it's really about being intentional about learning from and helping the right people because they tend to help us back. 2 important variables here in the footnote that you have to have in place. You need to have a solid communication strategy. Now, check me here. I'm going to rattle something about that's not on the slide. Communication is, in terms of networking, communication strategy is made up of, and I'll get into this later, the questions that we ask, how we listen to and interpret the responses, how we talk about ourselves, how we follow up, and how we stay in touch. All of that is our communication strategy. And then it's about having a targeted network. The more targeted our network, industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic demographic, geography, the more aligned with our communication it's going to be, and the more successful we will be at networking. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. So that's networking. Learning, helping. So important. All right. Ugly slide. Let me just bottom line it for you. In my experience, if we're good at networking, we only connect with people. I mean, truly connect. Like, you have me at hello about 1/3 of the time. 1/3 of the time, which means 2/3, not so much. So if we meet 10 people at an event, online or off, we probably only connect with about 3 in my experience. And that's if we're good. I refer to that as the 1/3er dynamic. The 1/3er dynamic. So you want to meet a 1/3er. And in my experience, if you meet a 1/3er, like, I really like this guy, Robert, good dude, man, a lot of positive head nods. He's got a good energy, smart dude, good looking, the whole thing, right? If I find that he is a 1/3er, he is probably going to find that I'm a 1/3er too. And we'll probably connect and there'll be some rapport. If for whatever reason he strikes me as a 2/3er, like, he's fine, but there's just no real vibe, he's probably not connecting with me much either. Now, don't we know people like that? And it's not the people, it's just the way it is. It's just the chemistry, and there's no real reason for it other than we have different agendas, different perspectives, different opinions. So here's the punchline. Focus on the 1/3ers. Just focus on the people that you have the greatest rapport with, because those are the people that are going to love you right back and where the most is going to come out of. That's just reality. That's just human nature. There's 1/3er prospects. There's 1/3er clients. There's 1/3er hiring managers. There's 1/3er family members. There's 1/3er students and right. But it's also 2/3ers. You can slice and dice them in every cross section. Would you agree?
Yep.
Just focus on the 1/3ers. What I'm also suggesting is that it's okay to not, have everybody love you, because they won't.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty good at this stuff, and believe me, not everybody loves me. Right? It's still the whole 1/3er deal. That's just the reality. A 1/3er hiring manager is more likely to want to interview again and ultimately hire you. If it's a 2/3er, in my opinion, it's over. Unless you happen to be the greatest CFO on the planet. And like, bar none, then personality may not count for much. But outside of that, we just don't hire people we don't like. It's just the way it is, right? It's harsh, but it's true, right? Like, would you? It's just the way it is. All right. Let's get into some rules of networking. So these are my rules. I have a book out. There's 23 of them there. I'm going to spare you all that. I'm just going to get into these because I think they're the most relevant for where we're going to go. And you will have an opportunity to introduce yourself using my elevator speech model. So be prepared for that. So here's the metaphor. Ever go to a public pool? Right? Certainly in the US, public pools have rules, right? The pool rules, right? No swimming, no splashing, no fun. Remember that sign? Right? It's got to be there according to the Board of Health and OSHA. So I, one day, probably about 20 years ago, started thinking, the swimming pool, the rules, brilliant. Like everybody knows the rules without even reading them. Like we all know them. Imagine if it was like that at every networking event we went to, every FENG meeting, every cocktail party, every golf outing, every conference, convention, trade show, product show, dog show. If we all knew this stuff, can you imagine how much bigger, better, better at networking we'd be? But there are no rules, so I wrote them. And I wrote them a long time ago, and they have not changed. So here are, I guess, my favorite 8. His first rule is share stories. People love stories. So if I was going to meet with Joe, and we'll just say virtually, we have like a one-on-one meeting. I'm going to meet with him. Joe, very nice to meet you. I appreciate you carving out some time. How's everything at home? Everybody okay? Friends, family, everything good? Right. So after that, and hopefully everybody is good, I might say, may I share a quick story with you? And I'll share a story. It's going to be relevant. It might be something that just with my kid, I just brought my kid to school and whatever it is, right? But it's going to be a couple of minutes. It won't be long. And I'll say, isn't that cool? What do you have going on, Joe? Or have you had a similar experience? And Joe's going to share something. What are the chances that we're going to create a rapport there? Pretty good, right? And not only that, it's not weird. And it's a human moment. Right. And it just feels good. Right. That's connecting. So share personal stories. Again, not too personal, make them relevant or make them funny. Share current professional stories as they may be relevant. Share solutions and ideas. Try not to be too negative. Ask great questions. Be interested in the answers. Focus on a target market or a niche. I'm going to get into that. Listen more, talk less. Even though I'm a speaker, I'm doing a lot of talking right now. But if I'm meeting with Joe, I am not going to be doing all the talking, I promise. I'll be doing maybe 40% of the talking because I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. I'm going to be doing a lot of listening and note taking. Create and use your elevator speech. We'll talk about it and then be clear on how others can help. Be clear how others can help you and how you can help others. Right? So be clear on the helping one another piece, which is really important. Basic rules, but you'd be surprised how many people don't follow these tenets. Here are some of my favorite questions. You ask the right questions, get the right answers. You might want to take a snapshot of this because these are good core questions to ask people when you're having meetings, networking meetings. And if you want, I can send them to you. So here are my fave. Lead with a story, which I guess is not a question. So I'd probably say something like, Joe, may I share a quick story? Yes. What do you do for fun? Is something else I might ask. What do you do for work, or who do you work for, or who did you work for? Whatever's appropriate. How long have you been there? Did you like or do you like what you do? What was your favorite part of your work? What's the favorite part of your profession? How do you market yourself? What are some of your interests? Where do you look to network and why? What does that scenario look like? Are there podcasts or virtual meetings you could recommend? Who would you love to meet and why? And if I happen to like them a third of the time, Joe, I really love where you're coming from. You just seem like a good guy and you're really on point. I would love to explore ways as to how I might help you and be a resource. So this is my bailiwick of questions. Do I ask more questions? Probably. But these are my core. Notice how these are all open-ended questions?
Yeah.
Now, so all these questions prompt a rich response. These are also questions that I would love to be asked of me, which is why I developed them. Like, what would I, if I'm meeting with Robert, what would I ultimately want him to ask me, right? On a good day. This is about winning the day, right? It's also about winning the meeting. So I find that if I, throw a jab and it's in the form of these questions, if Robert responds after he answers and responds with, how about yourself? I know I'm on the path to one-thirderville. Like I know it because it's a true conversation. It's truly collaborative and great questions allow that to happen. Make sense?
Yep.
right? So get in the habit of starting to ask great questions like this. And I'm not saying it has to be these. You might have better questions. Just make them open-ended, make them collaborative, and think about the questions that you would love people to ask of you. And that's a powerful approach, I believe. All right. I'm going to get, you know what? I'm going to, let me do this. I'm going to do this backwards because I want to hear from you and I'm concerned about time. So what I want to do is I'm going to share with you my model of the elevator speech. Okay, the elevator speech. Now, this is an ugly slide right here. I give you that. So Rutgers is on the right-hand side. I teach this format in my Rutgers public speaking class, and the students have to master it. Like they get it on the midterm and final because I'm focused on helping them get jobs. And that happens in a 15-week semester, which is really cool. And then the other graphic that's there is I have an online networking university called Knockout Networking University. And so I've got all these videos that are very short videos that slice and dice my content. The elevator speech is the most popular video out of all of them. This is what it looks like. So there's something to that, right? There's a story there. So I want to talk to you about that. If you would, be very intentional in listening, because after we get into this, I'm going to ask you for yours. Okay? So listen up. So I refer to this as the peace statement. I've been sharing this for 21 years with audiences. Literally thousands of people have been exposed and have used the peace statement. And I've watched a lot of people get some really cool results, including me. Here's how it, where I've watched job searchers land interviews and jobs just using this. Like I've watched it. So the peace statement. Peace stands for profession, expertise, environments, call to action. So think of in terms of, okay, Robert, you've got 30 seconds, go. Profession is who you are, what you do, or what your profession is, and perhaps how you help. Expertise is what you know in threes. So profession, I'm a speaker, trainer, coach, boxer. My company is Knockout Networking. My focus is helping sales producers grow their business. Right? That's my profession. Expertise, one of my threes. My expertise is in the areas of networking, referrals, and recruiting. Those are my big three. Environments. Almost all of my work is in the insurance and financial services industry with companies like Morgan Stanley. If I was in job search, I would say I'm focused on the insurance and financial services industry as a niche market with company looking to hopefully work with firms like Morgan Stanley. You see how that's very surgical and specific? That's powerful. And then call to action is like, damn it, what is it that you want? It's your ask. So in the spirit of networking, or ideally when I'm at events like that, I'm always looking to meet or be introduced to branch managers with Morgan Stanley in the greater Orlando area, or whatever's most meaningful to you. Any advice on how I might make connections like that? I would love your perspective. That's the peace statement. How powerful is that? You see how it starts general, it gets specific, and it's very granular. Like there's details there, and the devil is in the details. It cannot sound like anything, everything, something, or anyone, everyone, someone, because that equates to no one, or a long time before no one becomes someone if you catch the drift. So here's what one might look like. So I'm kind of taking it from a place of career search. And for Donald, it might look a little bit of a different way because he's, more business focused, right? So career search example, I'm a financial, look at the elements. I made this lengthy on purpose, right? But it's got the 4 elements. I'm a financial professional in transition, focused on working as a banker in the private equity space, profession. My expertise is in investment analysis, accounting, and financial planning. Sound familiar? There's the big 3. They may or may not be yours, but find yours. I'm focused on working for firms like ABC Partners and XYZ Equity Group. I made them up. I'm always looking to meet or be introduced to CPAs, bankers, and financial planners. Any advice, insight, recommendations as to how I might make a connection like that would be great. How powerful would that be if you shared that in a FEN group, or if you shared that in an association that is aligned with your target market? Of course, you'll make connections, where to go, what to say, with whom. What do you think about that? So what I want to do is I'm going to have each of you go through yours, and I don't want to necessarily correct it. So don't worry about me spell checking. Just do your best. I might ask a question to help you get more granular, but I just want you to just get it out there and that's it. All right. So it's not about perfection. It's about progress, and it's not about good, bad, right, wrong. Just be as specific as you can and as you're able to. So I'm just going to go down the line. We'll start off with Joe, if you don't mind, followed by Robert. And I'm just going to time you. So just take 30 seconds or so each.
All right, let's give it a shot. Hi, my name's Joe. I'm a financial professional. Currently, I'm getting my MBA in economics and finance, and in the financial tech industry. My expertise has been more so in the nonprofit CFO roles. I'm focused currently on looking with firms, and I'm not sure. I'm always happy. Where am I? I'm lost now. I'm done.
That's okay. Are there target companies that you're interested in working for at some point?
Not right now. No, it's kind of general, so I really don't have a real focus. So.
All right. Well, you may want to give this some thought for later on. That's all. And that's great, right? Because now you're going to start to think about that, and you might come up with another variation of this, and you'll stumble upon something.
Absolutely.
All right. Great job, Joe. I appreciate that. Thanks. Robert, and then Donald, please.
Okay. Good evening, Michael. I'm Bob Johnston, sales organization's best friend. I've developed that reputation as a director of credit and global business services architect. I grow revenue, reduce costs, mitigate risk for non-banking, commercial, and international businesses of all sizes across all industries. And I am a Rutgers alum.
Nice.
And I'm looking for a position in credit, commercial credit leadership.
Perfect. Well done, Bob. I think you might have been in my class a bunch of years ago. Thought I recognized you. Well done. How about Donald and then Tariq, if you wouldn't mind?
Michael, I'm going to pass. I just got a phone call I got to take. I'm sorry.
Okay, go for it.
And Tariq, I think he stepped out.
I'm just stepping out right now, so you guys continue. I gotta leave. Thank you, Michael. Nice meeting you.
All right, you're welcome. All right, how about Victor?
Hi, good evening. I apologize. I'm actually, I ran late on my earlier meeting, so I'm actually in my car joining the meeting. I'm a trader at a hedge fund currently. After a long career on the sales side, working for banks such as Deutsche Bank. My expertise is mostly in the fixed income market, and particularly in derivatives products such as options. I'm looking for to think about what to do long term. I currently work in the evenings, so I'm actually heading to work next because I work the Asian markets.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I worked in New York and Tokyo briefly. My next, challenge, I'm, been pulled into different directions. I'm looking at, maybe becoming a loan originator, in sort of the South Florida for Lauderdale area. I'm also looking at potentially financial advisor, and there are also people pitching me about cryptocurrency. So I'm looking for really just to educate myself in each of those industries.
Perfect.
Thank
Well
you.
done, Victor. Not bad from the car. Well done. Great. How about Fernando and then Donald, please?
All right. Thank you. I'm doing this as we move. How are you? My name is Fernando Lopez. I am a professional in finance and a global leader. I help organizations to sustain profitability, and I do this through 3 different ways: working with people, strategy, and operations, and put it in line with the companies or organizations' goals and core procedures. I am looking to meet or be introduced to CEOs or chief operating officers in the 3 main industries I am after: construction, information technology, or manufacturing.
Perfect. Well done. Excellent. How about Donald, followed by Tisha, please?
Michael, I didn't ask for if it's me. Oh, the other Donald. Sorry, Donald. it's
Okay,
Donald.
go ahead. I'm going
Donald,
to answer
please
to
take the
Don.
stage,
Go ahead,
Donald.
Donald. Oh, okay.
Yeah, take it away, Donald Jr.
All right. Hi, I'm Donald. I'm a CFO responsible for companies' accounting practice in the manufacturing space. I'm an experienced CFO. I provide financial leadership and alignment to companies' financial strategies. I'm in transition right now, and I'm looking for the same type of work in the manufacturing area, preferably with a public company in the Orlando area. If I can be of any help to you, or my network can be of any help to you, please, let's have a conversation, and I'll appreciate any contacts that you may have knowing what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Perfect. Right on. Wow. Nice guy. Good, good, good. And Tisha and then Javier. Good to see you. Tisha, take it away.
Hello, my name is Tisha Turner, and I'm a financial professional in the asset owner space. My expertise is in public and private investments, risk management, and investment technology. I serve specifically in an environment of public pension funds, but also private pensions and college endowments. And I'm looking to build a larger network of professionals in the financial services industry, especially those that serve asset owners.
Perfect. Well done. Great job. And thank you for being here. And last, I think, but certainly not least, Javier. Is Javier here?
Hear me? Hello?
Oh, there you are.
Okay, well, I'm parking. You're going to see my face soon. My name is Javier Pinero. I'm a seasoned corporate finance executive, working in international markets and domestic, in diverse industries. I'm looking for sorry.
Distracted by the driving.
Yeah, I think so. So Javier, you want to circle back with us later when you're settled?
Yeah, give me a second. I will be with my video in 2 minutes.
All right, very good. No problem. Okay. All right. But you can see how powerful this model is, right? So I have watched this model, help people
to using it, or perfecting mine.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, So it's not a script, although it starts off that way. I prefer to think of it as a structure, structure, not a script. Because if you know these four components cold in a very conversational way, it's not just a line and verse. You've got 30 seconds, 1 minute, although it could be that. But really, it's just a way to have a conversation with people. So if I'm speaking to Bob, I might, ask him, so very nice to meet you. What do you do? So he can just get into profession. And then how about yourself? Then I might ask him about his background. And then he's got expertise to pull from. So do you have a specific, idea in terms of the types of companies you want to work for? He's not going to be in like hum the land. He's already going to be prepared with environments. So he's going to be able to answer that. And then call to action. He's going to be prepared with a very specific ask. And I think what's really clever about this, like if you really look at it this way, is if you're strategic, is that this is a marketing plan. Because once you get this down, then you can start to think about, in terms of winning the day, where you need to go, what you need to say, and with whom you need to say it. And once that's all in sync and in line, you've got something. And now you can, how and where and with whom to really make the best use of your time. Make sense? Yep. So it's more than just cool stuff to say. It really leads into a strategy. And as CFOs, you get that, right? It's all kind of a strategy, with a vision in mind. And that's kind of what all this stuff is. So I want to circle back now and talk to you very quickly about target market. And then I'm going to move on to some of the more virtual stuff. So it's already in there. I kind of just went out of order, but it's the environment piece of that peace statement. And I really believe this. I think that, and it was at the top of my list. I think that the number one reason why job searchers struggle, other than perhaps not doing enough of the right work, is because they're not aligned with the right market or any market. It's an anyone, everyone, someone mindset. And I think that's so dangerous, right? I really think it's not about casting a wider net. It's about going a mile deep. It's about being really intentional and then going after that proactively. So target market in my mind is an industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, and even target companies. In essence, it's kind of like reducing the fraction. So it looks like this. Your CFO is an accountant, you know this. So it's kind of like my daughter. I remember helping her with math, and she was reducing the fraction and showing it to me. Look, Daddy, that's the lowest common denominator. That's the LCD. I'm thinking an LCD is like a TV, right? But it's really just smart math, but it's even more smart job search. So if you can take your target market, small businesses, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company, and you reduce it, Fortune 100 company in the pharmaceutical space, to 1/2, like J&J in the central New Jersey area, or blah, 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 right? Bob? Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Then it's where to go, what to say with whom, right? You see how all of a sudden it becomes much more intentional. It's now all of a sudden it turns into something. So now when you go to LinkedIn and you do an advanced search on J&J, financial, CFO, CPA, right? All of a sudden you start connecting with people that you may not have before. And now you got something to talk about. Do you not? You know what all that costs? Nothing. It costs nothing. It's just about being, you got it. It's just about being focused, right? So that's your target market. And I think it's so important. So it's just a question of picking an industry or profession that makes the most sense to you. And I think that's really important. And I would just pick one or two, no more than 2 niches, right? Or so industry profession. So you might focus on the manufacturing industry as well as pharmaceutical, or consumer products as well as telecom. But if you focus on too many, then there's no point in having a target market, right? The point is to be targeted. All right. So once you have a target market, then it's about developing a list and checking it twice. And as a Jewish guy, I can say that. So top 50 list. This is one of my favorite concepts to share. I use it myself. So once you have a target market as a job searcher, right? Industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, start to envision people that you have a good to great relationship with that are centers of influence. Now, the term center of influence, or COI, is a big deal in the financial services industry, at least with financial advisors. So that often translates into CPAs or others that might fish in the same ponds as you. So let's just say, I'm going to use Bob as an example because he's got the Pfizer background there. Let's just say that Bob's target market happens to be the pharmaceutical industry. So what profession would be a good center of influence for Bob? And just share it with me. Just say it.
Doctors?
Yeah, doctors might be a good, right? Doctors, maybe other pharma reps, for other companies, dentists, and so on, right? Because there's a commonality there, but there's no conflict. So once you have a target market and target companies, then start thinking about, and if you ever wanted me to, I'd be happy to help you with it. Like I'm able to do that. I'll brainstorm with you. We'll figure it out as to centers of influence that are impactful to the industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, target companies that you're looking to connect with. And then you start making a list of those people. And the goal is to get to 50. Now, I have a top 50 list. It'll look a lot different than yours, but mine is national sales managers, some financial advisors, property and casualty brokers, reverse mortgage people, and so on, that have connections to advisors that are common to me. So these are people that I'm able to network with, and we exchange introductions and referrals all the time. 80% of my business comes from my top 50 list. Let me say that again. 80% of my business comes from my top 50 list. I'd be willing to bet that 80% of the interviews that you get by embracing this will come from your top 50 list. So it's a good investment of time to start to build your top 50. And so you're not going to start off with 50. Maybe you start off with 10. So what? Right? It's better than 0. And start to build the list. As you connect with more and better people through networking, it's about adding those folks to the top 50 list. And then staying in touch with them with a we focus. How can we help one another? How can we be resources for one another? And never let those people get more than a month away, a couple of weeks away, where you've always got another meeting on the calendar where you're continuing to brainstorm and introduce one another on behalf of one another. And I think that's really important. You know what this costs? Nothing. You can do this today. And LinkedIn can be really helpful. The top 50 list is where 80% of, I landed Fidelity as a pretty big client a couple of months ago. It came from my top 50 list. Came from people I already knew. I just got referred and bada bang, that just happened. All right, let's look at some of the virtual stuff. So here are virtual approaches. Emails, of course, way more usage in the email with email marketing than ever before. Virtual meetings, social media, blogs, webinars, podcasts, phone calls, the whole thing. We'll cover some of this. So email. Let's, again, email, we send emails all the time. We don't even think twice about it. Here are some best practices. I am surprised at how many people don't embrace this. It shocks me. It may seem like common sense, but it's not. Have an engaging subject line. Like, I want people to know why I'm reaching out to them even before they open up their email. It should be in the subject line, and it should be personal. Come from a place of we. It's got to have like a win-win feel to it. It's got to be win-win. Send it personally. Don't have somebody do it on behalf of you. Make the message personal, not too personal. Keep it short, sweet, to the point. Nobody likes to read a lengthy email. Do not mass mail, and initiate a call to action. Well, what does all that look like? It could look like this. Hi, Sam, let's reconnect. Right in the subject line. He knows it's personal, it's to him. And what's the context? Let's reconnect. Hello, Sam, I hope you and your family are healthy and safety. Relevant? You bet. I'm sorry it's been so long. It's the Boston thing, right? Personal. Would be great to schedule a call or Zoom to catch up and explore ways how we might help one another. We focus, collaborative, networking. Call to action. Please let me know when you might have some time. These days, I direct people to my Calendly link, or I'll give them an option. Tuesday afternoon or Thursday morning, right? And I get response to this only every time. It's not cold, right? These are people that I already know, that I'm collaborating with. Warm regards, MG. Right? Simple, simple. Virtual meetings. Again, I'm surprised at how many people don't do this. Have a good wireless or wired connection. Because I do presentation, I'll be unplugged here. But because I do presentations here, I'm plugged in right now. Wireless is my backup. Because I do so many presentations for a living, I couldn't afford to have a slow wireless connection. And at the beginning of COVID, I did. And I had my whole house rewired, I really did. And then I got a plug in. So now the wireless is my backup because I can't afford to have, like a flawed coverage. Be mindful about space and background. Here's mine. It's on brand. Just make it professional. Minimize distractions. Like job interviewers don't like it when cats are walking by. They don't like it when there's screaming kids in the background. They don't like when you're eating a bucket of fried chicken. They don't like that. Keep conversation focused. Be mindful of people's time. Try not to multitask much. Be respectful of time. When I'm setting up time with people through Zoom, it's never more than 30 minutes because it's a whole different dynamic when you're online. Don't eat. I had somebody in one of my networking groups literally eating a bowl of pasta in the camera. Like, you think she's going to get referrals? Really? Utilize LinkedIn. Try not to drive or anything like that because it just shows people that maybe, and this is with respect, maybe this wasn't planned the way it should have been. And you arrange the meeting. You arrange the meeting. So when I'm setting up a meeting with somebody, I'll go ahead and, the invite and Zoom is on me. Like, I try to do the heavy lifting if I can. I also communicate in terms of their time zone. So if I'm setting up a meeting with somebody in San Francisco, my interaction is going to be in terms of Pacific time. Why have them do the math? I've had people compliment me on that. Like, it's really nice of you to communicate in my time zone. What did it take? It took nothing, right? But I took the burden on doing that because it's about the connection. It's about the connection and the rapport. Again, you know what it costs? Nothing. All right. So some best practices about social media. I think you've heard of this concept called social media. Have you not? It's like this new thing all the kids are talking about. So LinkedIn is a social media of choice for business. You know that. They're the 1, 2, 3 punch to social media and certainly to LinkedIn is posting, connecting, and engaging. Boom, boom, boom. Posting, connecting, engaging. Minimize look at me posts. Nobody cares. Save that for Facebook. Save that for Instagram. Not on LinkedIn. Try to use LinkedIn every business day or at least, and I don't mean in terms of usage, I mean posting really. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at minimum. Your posts on LinkedIn are like footprints that are going to ultimately take you to the promised land. I'm not saying that you post constantly. That's kind of obnoxious. Maybe every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you want to do it 5 days a week, so be it. I used to. I'm now to a Monday, Wednesday. I'm down to a Monday, Wednesday, Friday split. Make your target market relevant. Tag people on your top 50 list or people that are influential within your target market. Don't tag them every day, right? That's obnoxious. But pick and choose and tag certain people that you think would find value in a post or find value in something that you are writing. Follow those in your target market that are active. You know, if you go to LinkedIn on somebody's profile, I can go to Bob's LinkedIn profile and about halfway down the page, it says activity. And I can see how active he is. So if there's somebody that's active on LinkedIn, they're more likely they're going to be reactive to me. Have a goal and a plan. Connect with me if you haven't already on LinkedIn. So posting, connecting, and engaging is the 1, 2, 3 punch to LinkedIn. Here are some best practices. A lot of people don't know this stuff, even now, even with 180 like bazillion people on LinkedIn right now. So posting, you can just post business practices. It could be basic. It could be a comic strip, as long as there's some relevance there and you're allowed to do it from a trademark perspective. Quotes are powerful. Shares, you can share somebody else's posts, or trends about your target market. So if Bob, I'm just going to use him as an example, from the Rutgers days, if Bob wanted to make posts that are relevant to the pharmaceutical industry, right, provided he was an authority in that space, and that's his target market, that would be a great, as long as it doesn't breach some sort of compliance, right? That would be a great thing for him to be able to create posts that are relevant to that space that he's looking to generate gravity around. Relate it back to business and relate it back to your target market. I try to tag at least 3 COIs from my top 50 list for every post. So if I have 50 and I'm tagging 3 a post, and I post 3 times, a week, I get through everybody, but not in an obnoxious way. Some people want me to tag them all the time because a lot of these top 50 people have become my friends. So I tag them, they tag me right back. Do you know how to tag somebody on LinkedIn? After you post something, you go down to the comments section or right below your post and hit the @ sign. Once you hit the @ sign, a drop-down window will emerge and then start typing somebody's name. So Donald, D-O-N, and then all the D's will come down. Just click on that name. It'll be highlighted and you just tag Donald. And if you want me to go over that offline, I'm happy to do a screen share and I can show you how to do it. It's one of my favorite strategies. So when you tag somebody, it means that when you post it, they get prompted in their notifications that you've posted something and that they've in fact been tagged. So now they'll look at it and hopefully respond, which is what you want. So that's posting. Connecting. Connecting is sending a direct message to somebody through LinkedIn. There's Sam. We're going to bother him again. I see we both have a focus in the manufacturing industry. See how I made it relevant? Let's connect. If you're game, I make it a little funny and explore how we might help one another. I identify with the pronoun of we. Do you notice? Right? It's collaborative. Looking forward to the prospect of coordinating. Warm regards. And I get responses back only every time, right? Because of, right? It's short, sweet, to the point. And it's not necessarily a quick copy paste. If I can make it even more specific, I do that. If there's something that I can put there that's relevant, Bob, I see that you went to Rutgers. I teach there, and so there's a relevance there, right? More likely, I'm going to create a gravitational pull off of that, and then engaging, right? So it's posting, connecting, engaging. Engaging is cultivating a relationship over time through those that are on LinkedIn. So it could be liking, it could be commenting. So if Donald was going to post something, my comment wouldn't just be nice post. It would be something a little bit more thoughtful. Donald, I appreciate the post about the pharmaceutical industry and some of the challenges with Pfizer. I think they might have a tough couple of months. Great post. Thank you. Like I read it. I appreciated it. I processed it. That would be my comment. Donald will probably comment back and so on. A share, a tag, a send a DM, and invite. Inviting somebody to an event. I've got this great FENG meeting in Miami. I thought this might be relevant and helpful for you. One of my favorite things to do is invite people that I'm looking to cultivate a relationship with to an event that I'm either leading or that I'm attending. You know what it costs? Nothing. And it really showcases the give. And it's so easy to do. And it's kind of fun. So when I first connected with Javier, who is the reason why I'm here, Javier came to one of my networking groups. I invited them. I was having it anyway. It was Florida based. I just invited them. Why not? Right? It's really fun and valuable to invite people to stuff that either you're doing or that you're attending. Right? It just shows being thoughtful. It's just another way of extending yourself. So my knockout networking system speaks to 4 components. Most people think networking is only one. They think it's presenting, but it's really doing your homework. There's Victor, I'm going to let him in. So it's doing your homework, preparing yourself before going to an event with your questions, your peace statement, your strategy, all that. Presentation is face-to-face. It's what you're saying, how you're listening, and what you're going to do about it. And like what we're doing right now is presentation phase. There's the follow-up, or the FU, as one of my clients likes to call it. Right? It's all about the FU because nothing happens without the follow-up. And I always like to follow up within 24 hours or the next business day or whenever we decide the right time to reconnect might be. Not following up is the kryptonite to networking. Not following up is the kryptonite to networking. Most people don't follow up because they're not really sure how or why. Like if I said to, Javier, it's like, I have an employment opportunity for you. Isn't he going to follow up? Of course he is. But if it wasn't that obvious, if it wasn't that,
Direct.
Yeah, then direct. If it wasn't that direct, maybe not. Like it might be a little bit more difficult to figure out how or why. But following up if there's a reason to do so, like there's a next step, there's a rapport that you want to create, and often can it be of mutual benefit? And then maintenance. Anybody with the acronym? UCUM? Anybody?
Mhm.
Out of sight?
Out of mind.
It's out of mind, believe it. Maintenance is staying in touch with people, a la the top 50 list, or those that emerge on LinkedIn, or even hiring managers that are relevant. Without us staying in touch, nothing is going to happen. Believe it.
Yep.
All right. So I'm looking at the clock. So just a couple more minutes and we'll wind down. So it gets back to winning the day, how I start. Have I given you enough tools to win the day?
I think so.
Right. So this is back to the first slide, right? What is an ideal work day for you? Right? High energy, what part of the day are you that? Time blocking, what does that look like? What does your 30-day goal look like? Are you on track? Right? And then what might emerge on your daily fight plan? What the heck is a daily fight plan? Here it is. I use this every day. And what I will do is I will email a copy, an actual PDF, a fillable PDF. I don't have everybody's email, but I'm going to send it to Javier. And he will, if you don't mind, Javier, and then he'll forward it to everybody. Right? So this is the way it works. I use this myself. You don't have to print it out, but I print out mine because I like scribbling on it and putting check marks, off because that's just right. So here it is. I really use this, and I have watched this concept help job searchers to land interviews and jobs. Like I've watched it happen. I've also watched business owners generate more business through this, as I have myself. So here's how it works. It's write your 30-day goal, be specific. Every day? Yes, every day. Every day, you want to be mindful of that 30-day goal. It could change. That's all right. Priorities. What should be completed today, no matter what? Oh, I got to update my resume. Oh, I have to get my resume to the I have to apply for this. I got to research this company. Whatever it is that you've got to do today, own that. There's a people component. Who do I need to create a touch point with today? It's divided like this on my form. I divided it up into prospects, people that might be in a position to hire you, people that you're waiting on for something. I'm waiting on a response. I'm waiting on a follow-up. I'm waiting on an application. I'm waiting on whatever it is. And then the third column is your centers of influence, your COI or your top 50. Is who are the 2 or 3 people on my top 50 that I'm going to reach out to and reconnect with today? Projects. What must get done today to move these projects forward? Not a project that you need to finish, but what will you do to at least move it forward? So it might be you got some great feedback on your resume and you want to update that. You may not get that done in the entire day, but you might want to do some work on it to move that project forward. That's important. That's part of winning the day. And finally, personal. What will you do to refresh and perhaps reboot? For me, it's jumping on the Peloton. For me, it's walking the dog. For me, it's hanging out with the kid. For me, it's whatever it is, but that's important too. Schedule it. own your calendar, win the day, right? So it's not about making the days count. It's not about counting the days, it's about making the days count, right? So Muhammad Ali said that. And I think that's so purposeful and so important when it comes to career search and keeping yourself on track, refreshed, feeling good, and focused. Have I made this a good use of your time?
Yes, sir.
So let me just reiterate one of the opening, right? So how to begin, right? This is a recap. Focus on your target market, develop a target company list, participate in an association that's in or relevant to your target market, create a top 50 list of your COIs, be active or more active on LinkedIn relevant to your target market, establish a daily routine. I just gave you one. Set weekly goals, 30-day goals. I just invited you to create one, and demonstrate it's up to me attitude. This is all up to you. I'm going to take it off a screen share, open it up for questions, and then I'm going to give it back to Javier. I think it's Javier or whoever. Is it Javier or Tariq? Whoever is going to just sort of take it from here.
Yeah, no. Do we have any questions for Michael? Anyone? So one is Michael Goldberg. There are a few on LinkedIn, so just a couple. So how do I get a hold of? I just looked and I saw a bunch of Michael Goldbergs. Maybe anybody else is looking to see how we connect.
Yes, I was just looking myself.
Do a search on Knockout Networking. You'll find me.
Okay, Knockout Network. Great.
Mike, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it has to do a lot with the mindset, because well, first and foremost, this is a knockout presentation by far.
Thank you.
It's really full of energy and a lot of meat to chew, literally. Every slide is really to the point. I like that.
Thank you.
The question is the following: you do boxing, right? And it's my belief that sometimes when we do things that are not comfortable, like boxing, it helps you to develop even, trigger more changes in your mindset.
Sure.
So how you started to do that? When that happened? What happened? What was probably the moment in which you realized taking that step that actually took you to, the next one, and then the next one, and the next one? Because we can do all these things all day long, but if the mindset is not there.
I totally agree. So, and it's a great question. And I know I come across full of energy and enthusiasm and exuberance, and I get that. And I'm not like this all day. I'm not, but I know it's impossible to apply all this stuff now. It's a lot of stuff. And it took me time to learn and process and implement. It was like a long weekend. No, it does take time. It does. So this is what I would suggest is just start small. Like I would say, start off with, what, next week I'm going to determine, what my target market's going to be. Like have that be your objective. Have that be for next week, right? Is I'm going to figure out what industry, profession, market segment, niche, dynamic, demographic, geography, company names, right? And start with that. That's a big deal. That's like a third of what, in my opinion, what you got to do, because that helps answer a lot of questions. It also brings up a lot of questions, Fernando, that might come to mind that are really important. But once you do that, it's kind of like the end in mind, right? So now it's the next thing. And the next thing might be, all right, is there a professional association that's aligned with this that I should go to? Probably virtually. That would be the next thing you research and just start going to them. And then maybe the next thing is I'm going to get this whole peace statement thing down, right? So as soon as you start to break it down like that, not so overwhelming anymore. And you notice how they all just build on the next. And you'll get some momentum. You will, because you'll start to get excited with successes, small wins that you have. Like that'll happen. Like a win will be, you'll come up with, let's say, a couple of target companies, Fernando, and you'll go into an advanced search and you'll put that into LinkedIn. And then you'll notice there's 12 people that you know that are there or that are connected to there. And that's like a win. You're going to say, oh my gosh, now you got work to do today, don't you? right? And it's exciting and it's relevant and it's on target and it's kind of fun because all of a sudden I know these people. That's a win. And you'll start to build little wins and momentum like that. And little by little, you'll come up with your own interpretation of some of the things that I shared.
Thank you.
And honestly, if you have questions, send them to me. Honestly, if you have questions or roadblocks, connect with me on LinkedIn. Honestly, I am in your corner.
Yeah, thank you.
Right? I am now part of your network. So honestly, if you have questions, ping me, please.
We are already connected. So
okay, good.
To illustrate it, Michael, I was looking at the possibility of going over from commercial to banking. And so I decided to contact some banking executives. Mm-hmm. And it was that last piece of the piece, which was saying, you know, how I got a connection with a bank president. He happened to be going through a merger. And so he said, well, I want to talk to you later. And I went back to him. I said, look, how can I help you? Could I help, since I'm not working right now, could I help you? And through it, his comment back to me was, that's why I want to meet you in person, is because you know, you're different than other people that are trying to contact me. You understand my, you know, my limited time, you're willing to wait, and you're willing to help me. And so that was really pretty powerful. That did get me excited.
Yeah, as it should. And good for you. That's great. Right. And those small wins, you know, go a long way. Right. And that says something about you. Right. And that says something about him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And of course, it's probably because you're from New Jersey.
One more question, by the way, Mike. What tool can you recommend to use that help us to do follow-up?
I don't know if I completely understand your question.
Excel. Excel.
In terms of an online tool like a CRM?
Something like that, yes.
You know, I'm not a tech guy. I just simply have everything right now in Outlook. You know, but I do have a team that manages HubSpot and, you know, manages a lot of my stuff from that respect. But typically, you know, I make things really simple with my own follow-up. So if there's people that end up in my world that I know I need to follow up and follow through on, if they don't end up on a top 50 list, they end up on a legal pad, honestly, because that legal pad is on my desk and it stares at me. So everything that's relevant for my week, because I'm all about owning the day, owning the week, it's on that legal pad. So I have a column for people and I have a column for tasks. So all of the people that become pertinent to my world this week and tasks that I need to take on, I just write them on that legal pad. And then they ultimately end up in my daily fight plan when the time is right. But it's not that I don't like tech. It's just that I like to scribble things and I've got a desk. And if it's staring at me right there, I know it's not going to slip through the cracks, and it doesn't. So that's my really easy way of handling it. Also, when I'm on the road, legal pad goes with me. I'm able to scribble notes. And so that's what works for me. Ultimately, people that I stay in touch with end up in a database. They're in my Outlook. They're in my phone. They're in my LinkedIn.
Fernando,
and just keep this in mind as well.
Donald,
let me just circle back for 1 second.
Agenda, notes, and action.
That's it. I just keep it simple. But Fernando, I just want to create some context. I'm not managing thousands of people. Like I have thousands of followers, as you might on LinkedIn. I just manage the top 50 or 60 people that are most important for me in any given month, any given quarter, because that's really manageable. So if I was in job search, I would have a legal pad. Maybe I would create a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, and it would be the top 10, 20, whatever the number is, most important people in my job search. And the people that, you know, that are potential hiring managers, that are prospects. I would just simply create a spreadsheet and I would just manage those few names and make sure that I'm really intentional and purposeful with those people rather than managing all these people. Because at the end of the day, it's about the connection. It's not about the volume. It's about the connection and the rapport that you have and your persistence about creating that rapport. Okay, you're welcome. Any
quick
other
comment.
questions? I just want to
Yeah,
be,
quick comment from me, comment or something else. But one of the things that it was always to me challenging about this is I get a lot of, cookie cutter emails from a lot of people for things that I have done or I did, and they keep sending me the same email. They just change the name. And it's like, man, I mean, we have not been talking for years. Why you keep sending me this stuff? So after a while, all these people, they go to the trash folder, right?
yeah.
But the people keep doing that. They go and get an BA somewhere in the world, or they got something automatic and say, hey,
That's what it is. Yeah.
And personally, so to me it creates, I mean, really, like you say, I personalize the stuff, and it takes time. It's very hard. So that's one thing that I will mention. I hate when I see that it's the same email for everybody.
Mhm.
And B, I want to be special. I want to be really, hey, really, I know you who you are. Like, I met this guy a couple of weeks ago, and he sent me this email because he don't have a business card or anything. And he said, yeah, I was the bald guy in the room. And I was like,
yeah. You know how many notes I get on LinkedIn, or people wanting to connect with me because they're digital marketers and I'm a speaker, so I must need a digital marketer. Like, I must get 10 a day. Like, honestly.
And you must be
Or
doing
people that are
something
going to help me
wrong. I
write
get
a
100
book.
a
I mean, I
day.
get this all the time.
but I remember this guy because he is not flipping, but rebuilding a small company in Hawaii. And so I remember, and I said, I think this is the Hawaii guy. So I got an email back to him. I said, hey, listen, Brian, blah, blah, blah. Are you still working on your Hawaii deal of, that you might need funding, blah, blah, blah? I said, yeah, I'm that guy. My God. I mean, if it was not for me, I would have lost this guy, because the way that he's trying to connect, it was so generic. It's like,
Yeah.
again, I was the guy wearing a blue suit and a white shirt.
But that's a big deal on LinkedIn right now. There are people that do that. They just mass email, and there's companies that's part of a digital, because there's more people on LinkedIn now than ever. So it's amazing. To me, it's just more content to talk about. That's all. I mean, it really is.
Right. But what I'm saying is that it takes also thick skin, because, again, I don't hate those people, but, a lot of people also that, CEOs and people high level that I'm trying to reach, sometimes they would just say, yeah, got it. And that's it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so then I have to keep pursuing, and sometimes they don't answer until, years or weeks or something. Also, oh yeah, I remember you. We might need to talk.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm moving in something else already.
I'm with you.
And in the past, I used to take it like, oh, I'm not going to do anything else. This is just a waste of time.
Yeah, that's right. All right, it is 7:30. So I want to, have I made a good use of time?
No, that's great.
Yep.
So real quick, I'm going to end with this is, what are you going to do more, better, or differently as a result of either something that I said or something somebody else said here?
I follow what you're saying.
Yeah, I think rather than the broad net, I'm going to look for that deep net.
Yeah, be focused, create a strategy, and start to make daily footprints to win the day. Only one day at a time. And if you don't win today, win tomorrow. So what I would do is I will follow up with Javier first thing tomorrow. I will send that daily fight plan document. And do you want the slides? Is that going to be helpful?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that. I'll send a PDF of the slides as well. And if you haven't connected with me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to be a resource any way that I can. Have a great rest of the week, everybody. It was a pleasure meeting you, and Javier, thank you.